Hey guys, so big yikes. While I was out here chopping it up with you, your bestie took a turn for the worse.
I've been working on this video for the last like 6 or 8 weeks. Quantity over quality, I thought, but we don't live under quality under quantity times. We live at the business end of a fire hose in the zone. And the government's job is to flood that zone with shit.
I said, all we have to do is flood the zone. Every day we hit them with 3 things. They'll bite on one and we'll get all of our stuff done. It's just attack, 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 keep driving it, flood the zone. Flood the zone. Flood the zone was my idea.
All of which is to say there's been another crazy train wreck Elon Musk interview that we're not going to talk about.
Whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die.
If you want a case study on just how impossible it is to keep up with the flood, just look at 4 months worth of Elon Musk adventures, Earth months.
They're gonna say, tell to Earth.
When I finished recording the first draft of my last video on the man, Elon Musk was still the unelected leader of an ad hoc governmental agency named after a Bitcoin, which was named after a dog meme. Already by the time I had finished recording, Elon had been shown the door. Except he didn't know it was a door because he was so high on ketamine he couldn't see straight.
He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder.
Musk's erratic sociopathic behavior was great for destroying the federal government, but reportedly annoying to be around personally. Allegedly, his annoyance led him to be being punched in the face by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent after, allegedly, Scott Bessent called him a fraud. Called him a fraud and then punched him in the face, allegedly. Or maybe it was Elon's kid.
Yeah, no, I was just horsing around with little X, and I said, go ahead, punch me in the face, and he did.
His son, who's named after the social media company that he bought, which itself was named after his original thing he wanted to name PayPal, which itself is named after one of the letters of the U.S. alphabet. The U.S. alphabet. After gleefully chainsawing cancer researchers and plane crash preventers, Elon got in a public spat with the president he had purchased. Musk accused Trump, among other things, of being in the as-of-yet unreleased Epstein files.
As yet unreleased, or as yet released Epstein files.
Kind of weird that he keeps hanging out with Trump to this day, considering. Hard to imagine a reasonable explanation. Elon is a family man, he has children, and he knows that this guy is a pedophile for sure. And so there'd be no...
Elon Musk's name has appeared in files relating to Jeffrey Epstein, with reference to him potentially visiting the island that Epstein owned on the pedophile's private plane.
That is another thing that happened in the last 4 months, and then another thing is he made a Hitler robot.
Firstly, Grok began referring to itself as Mika Hitler and made anti-Semitic comments in response to user queries. Grok also went on to frequently praise and glorify Adolf Hitler in several posts.
And that has just been the past 4 months, the past 4 human months on Earth.
They're gonna say, tell to Earth.
We're actually going to talk a lot about that clip of him saying tell it to Earth in the next video, and that does make sense, and it will be good. Elon is telling it to Earth to this day. Literally this very day as I'm recording this, Elon is openly calling for violence against the left.
Elon Musk called the left the party of murder. Again, the shooter's identity was unknown at the time, and yet he blamed it on the murderous left and said if they won't leave us in peace, then our choice is to fight or die.
Now, as my regular viewers know, I am a radical centrist moderate who loves capitalism more than anything in the world, so I have no reason to be concerned. And also in spending a few months working on these fair and balanced and nice and not petty or mean-spirited videos about Elon Musk, I have kind of mentally prepared myself for this exact situation. A lot of folks in the liberal lamestream media have acted astonished by these recent Elon fash-out crash-outs, but to me, and probably you watching this because you're cool, I can tell, these things have been inevitable. These implosions, the escalation of insanity, were always going to happen. What we see in recent Elon poopy diaper baby meltdowns is a man completely unmoored from reality.
What a creep, what a jerk. Like who derives joy from that?
These are softball interviews with his political allies, but even here, he doesn't bother keeping it together. Why should he? He won everything. He no longer has any incentive to not act like the crazy person he is. But he used to. Elon used to have to pretend to be a serious businessman who didn't want to destroy the planet or overdose, whichever came first.
Do you think you prioritize freedom of speech over misinformation and hate speech?
Well, you know, who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC?
And you're literally asking me?
Yes.
Well, no, you
Who
are
is the arbiter?
you are the arbiter on Twitter because you own Twitter.
Back in April 2023, Elon was merely a guy who might avoid consequences for his mounting crimes. His Twitter takeover had been an embarrassing spectacle, his conflicting business interests were under increasing scrutiny, and he kept on doing things that were, like, illegal.
Elon Musk is responding to sexual misconduct allegations made against him by tweeting that the, quote, attacks should be viewed through a political lens.
The recent past is the easiest to forget. Some of the all-time great interviews weren't appreciated until after their time, because at the time, the news cycle moved on to the next zone shit thing they had to cover. So in this video, we are going to dive deep into what I believe is the second best Frost-Nixonian interview with Elon Musk from before the dark times, before the empire. Sorry, you might want to sit down. What I'm about to say might be a little cringe.
You might want to sit down. What I have to say right now might be a little cringe.
And I am actually sorry about that. I am sorry that I did that. Part 2. How about tonight? In April 2023, BBC tech reporter James Clayton sent an email to Elon Musk. The world's richest man had purchased and acquired Twitter in late 2022 and wasted no time in putting his personal stamp on the brand.
At least one Twitter employee working on the new blue checkmark subscription product got locked out of the company's systems last night during a meeting. And that is how that person found out they were fired. They were one of nearly 3,800 people fired in the past 24 hours as part of another one of Musk's big changes to the platforms, mass layoffs affecting half of Twitter's workforce.
Teams of programmers, content moderators, coders, and by April of 2023, 80% of the staff have been terminated. Once a company that employed 7,500 people, by the time James Clayton reached out to Musk, Twitter's staff had been called to a bare-bones 1,500, even as the billionaire demanded ever more sweeping, system-altering changes to the platform with little advance notice and ludicrous deadlines. Among such changes were Musk labeling his greatest enemies, journalists, as state propagandists. Individual reporters had their verification status removed at Musk's behest. Verification being a blue check mark that assured other users on the site that, yes, that is the real Stephen King and not just some guy pretending to be Stephen King. But celebrities and athletes, and eventually Stephen King specifically, were spared this indignity. Journalists, though, and journalistic publications were the first to go, and if they wanted their verification back, they would have to subscribe to Twitter's new premium subscription service, which costs money.
But were you throttling the New York Times relative to other news organizations, relative to everybody else? Was it specific to the Times?
They didn't buy a subscription. By the way, it only costs like $1,000 a month. So if they just do that, then they're back in the saddle.
But then, what does that say about free speech? And what does that say about amplifying certain voices?
Free, it costs a little bit.
NPR, the BBC, and other major news networks logged into their Twitter accounts one day to suddenly find their verified status stripped and replaced with this biohazard warning, government-funded media. Pre-Elon, such labels had typically been reserved for Russian or Chinese state-sanctioned propaganda outlets. RT, once banned from Twitter for spreading Kremlin-friendly talking points about the invasion of Ukraine, among other things, had its restrictions lifted following Elon's takeover of the platform. I'm not here to try and convince anybody that the BBC is good or bad. It just simply, as a matter of fact, is not government-funded media in the way that Elon Musk is saying. The BBC has editorial independence, it can report on government corruption, it has standards of evidence, and the BBC is just as anti-trans and pro-Israel as Elon, so you'd think he'd love it. So, pushing back against this incendiary Twitter label, tech reporter James Clayton sent an email to Musk with information as to how the BBC really is funded. Clayton expected Musk's media team to respond, as is typical of busy business types and politicians. Musk responded personally. Is the Twitter label accurate? Surprised that he had responded at all, Clayton's editor suggested taking a stab at requesting an interview. Or a chat, having a go at a chat. On Tuesday lunchtime, Clayton wrote, probably in that accent generally, I typed an email requesting a chat about his first 6 months as Twitter boss. To my surprise, Elon responded, sure, how about tonight? Elon said. And one last thing, one very last minute thing, like 20 minutes before they were going to record this interview, Elon said, hey, by the way, we're going to stream this thing live to Twitter Spaces. Clayton then is in the precarious position of hosting a literal last-minute live interview with one of the most powerful men on the planet on Musk's home turf, Twitter headquarters, where reportedly he had been essentially living ever since his takeover of the platform.
First of all, I just want to clear something up. Are you sleeping in the office? Here.
I sometimes sleep in the office.
like in the library.
The BBC convinced Elon to simultaneously stream the Twitter Spaces to the BBC, leading to an estimated cumulative 3 million live viewers. What ensued is one of the most illuminating, awkward, and vital interviews with Elon Musk ever recorded. Elon live and at night. What could go wrong?
People are so mean online.
Part 3. I promise we're almost done with the setup. Now, if you're an Elon fan, first of all, I appreciate you sticking it out this far. You have more patience than I would have. But you might be surprised that I consider this to be a good interview worthy of discussion. First of all, I mean good in the more like fascinating or revealing sense than I mean like flawless interview tactics. And second, I suspect that's partially because his fans haven't seen the whole conversation. In my opinion, in viewed in complete context, your bestie took a major L.
Your bestie took a major L.
And I'm not sorry for that one. It was actually a little hard for me to find the full interview. The first result with 14 million views is like a 5-minute clip where Elon sure acts like he caught James Clayton in a lie. And then there's the good old Independent, which is independently reporting that Elon has awkwardly turned the tables on Clayton.
That's false. No, what I claimed, you just lied. What I claimed was there are many organizations that say that that kind of information is on the rise.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
We will get to the context of that, of course, but I would encourage Elon fans to stick around or at least watch the full interview yourself, which I have linked in the description, because judging by every single comment on every video about this interview, including one with a body language expert, God help us, Elon is a rhetorical genius who slaughtered a libtard journalist in verbal combat. In thousands of comments, Musk's fans are cock-slobbering and ball-gargling and taint-painting. I have to have my glasses to read. Taint painting.
So very often we see CEOs or leaders or people in a position of power like this. It's a nice, powerful display. You'll notice that it makes him seem confident, like there's nothing to hide. It doesn't look very nervous at all.
What I'll concede is that Clayton makes a few key mistakes in his interview, and Elon absolutely has the upper hand at several points. No argument there. But I like this interview because it's interesting, not because it's flawless. It has a dramatic arc. There's a real back and forth tension. Clayton does not respond to Musk the way he wants ever, really, which does catch Elon off guard right out of the gate.
I sold a lot of Tesla stock to close this deal. I did not want to sell the Tesla stock.
Okay.
But then Elon puts Clayton on his back heels, and then Clayton has to be the one to refine his balance, ultimately ending in a really cool mic drop question at the very end. It's like that movie, Frost Nixon. This is the first high-profile interview Elon Musk gave after his chaotic attempt to back out of the purchase of and then legally mandated purchase of Twitter, which is the correct term here because Elon had not yet announced that he planned on changing the name from Twitter to his son's name, X. Sorry, I know that was a lot of setup. It's just that in hindsight, knowing what Elon would go on to reveal himself to be, it's hard not to see this whole thing as foreshadowing.
I think we should do something about the crime.
Right.
People are dying.
Right.
We should take action. You either fight back or you die.
Part 4. Why are you doing this? Now that you know the strange circumstances that led to this last-minute live interview, it makes sense that Clayton's first question is basically, hey, why are you doing this?
Why did you agree to do this interview with the BBC?
I don't know. I like spontaneity. And I don't know, there's a lot going on. And it seems like I actually do have a lot of respect for the BBC. Although sometimes I forget what the BBC stands for, you know. But what is it? Just kidding.
You know what it stands for.
As I do. So there's a lot going on. So I thought this might be a good opportunity to answer some questions and I guess maybe get some feedback too. What should we be doing different?
Oh, wow. So this is going to be a very pleasant chat, two gentlemen exchanging ideas. What a congenial fellow, this Elon. He's joyous. He's full of laughter. Maybe a little too full. Okay, so right off the bat, Elon's nervous laughter is pretty out of control, and it does not get any better. I know it's easy for his fans to dismiss this as an innocent nervous tick, and it is a nervous tick probably, but reporting indicates this is a less than innocent tactic. I'm going to be referencing the book Character Limit a lot in this video. It was really essential to the research because it's all about Elon's takeover of Twitter, and that's the exact little area of history that we're talking about here. One of the things that the authors observe is that Elon uses laughter strategically. Soon after his takeover, his new employees were rapidly learning that Musk hated excuses and explanations but loved to be admired. He got keen satisfaction from telling jokes, which meant that everyone around him had to be ready to laugh.
Are you ready?
it, you awful man.
At one point, he tries to get a little chuckle out of the Twitter executives by telling them a really funny story. Quote, he had a friend that worked on the company's key search products who had been told that Google intentionally kept its share of the search market under 70% to avoid antitrust regulation. Get it? Musk said with a smirk. 69%. Musk looked around as his voice grew louder. 69%! Read that and got war flashbacks of making that Sorkin video.
Listen,
So that's how I see Elon's laughter here and everywhere now that I've read this. It's a challenge. I'm laughing. Are you going to laugh along?
Just kidding.
Clayton tries his best at first, but grows weary. Okay, I've also noticed another tactic Elon often returns to, the on-the-spot challenge. Here, he does it to Clayton.
Let's talk about that drastic action, because almost immediately you sacked a lot of Twitter workers. And I spoke to them. It was very easy to speak to them when it happened. And the way they said, pretty much everyone said, is that it felt quite haphazard.
It was.
And it felt a little bit uncaring.
I wouldn't say uncaring.
What is this drink he's grabbing? Sound off in the comments. What's the chances that this isn't spiked? Maybe a body language expert can help us understand what's happening here.
And this is a very comforting thing to drink, because first of all, it hydrates us, which helps with stress, because stress raises the body temperature. So, hydrating can help us deal with that.
Pretty insightful stuff. Let's continue.
The issue is like, the company's either going to go bankrupt, or if we do not cut costs immediately, this is not a caring, uncaring situation. It's like if the whole ship sinks, then nobody's got a job.
Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just lost their jobs like that. And they weren't. They didn't even know they'd lost their jobs often. They just were just.
So let me ask you, what would you do?
On the surface, an innocent, perhaps even admirable question, assuming Elon actually wants an answer to his question. But Elon never wants or expects disagreement. So in Clayton's case, he does not.
What would you do?
Well, you might want to give someone some notice. I mean, you might. By the way, I'm not running Twitter, but
I know. But
this is the criticism, and this is what staff members say. A little bit of notice.
No, I understand. You have 4 months to live. 120 days. In 120 days, you're dead. So what do you want to do?
How much are you worth?
Okay, that's the first zinger. Clayton gets the first zinger. That is such a great response.
So what do you want to do?
How much are you worth?
Elon says that the company was on track to lose $3 or $4 billion a year and then only had $1 billion in the bank.
At the point at which the company, the transaction closed, Twitter was tracking to lose over $3 billion a year and had $1 billion in the bank. So that's 4 months to death. So this is your starting position. How would you feel? Pretty intense.
For now, let's assume that's true. Well, I'm not a math guy, but I can't help but notice that the numbers 3 and 4 are smaller than the number 44, and 44 is much smaller than 200, which is the amount of billions of dollars Musk was worth around this time. $200 billion. So maybe, just maybe, if Musk's Twitter takeover was really a philanthropic endeavor to help save the human race, Elon could spare some pocket change. You might be saying I'm being a little uncharitable to Elon. He doesn't really think that Twitter's gonna save humanity, but he does. He says that his 3 companies, X, SpaceX, and CarX, are part of a triptych, a save humanity threesome.
Are all of your businesses related in some way?
You can think of the businesses as things that improve the probable trajectory of civilization.
So what do you want to do?
How much are you worth?
All right, how's he going to destroy Clayton with facts and logic?
I don't know.
Oh.
But we're talking about around the $200 billion mark. I mean, it's not quite. You're framing it in that it had a few months to live. You're quite a rich man.
I sold a lot of Tesla stock to close this deal. I did not want to sell the Tesla stock.
Okay. And this is why I worship at the altar of Elon, because he didn't want to sell that many stocks, but he did. That must have been super fucking hard for him.
God, I bet anyone who's watching this video or watched that interview who's investment savvy or business savvy or finance savvy cringed at that answer. It is such an awful answer.
Well, how much money do you have? You're rich. You can afford to keep a failing business afloat. What?
Elon wants to make it seem like everything he does is the only thing he could have possibly done. Everything, dear leader, does is wise. But Musk never had to buy Twitter in the first place. It was an underhanded, financially risky, and emotionally impulsive purchase that everyone, including Musk's inner circle, tried to talk him out of. Weeks after signing on the dotted line, Musk himself tried to back out of the sale.
Let's go back 6 months and even further back than that. When you put that initial bid in, you then had a wobble. You kind of said, I actually don't want to buy Twitter anymore.
We'll get into more detail later, but for now, here's what you need to know about Elon's Twitter purchase. He said that the reason why he wanted to purchase it is because, first of all, the censorious left, a few out-of-touch crazy California liberals, are inserting their niche ideology into the most important social media platform on God's flat earth.
In politics that are on the very far left of the spectrum. San Francisco, Berkeley politics normally is quite niche. But if Twitter effectively acted as a megaphone for very niche regional politics and megaphone that to the world.
The second main reason was that Twitter had been infested with bots. Elon was going to buy Twitter and fix the bots and all the woke. But then Elon backed out of his Twitter purchase, weirdly citing that there were too many bots, or rather that there were more bots than he was told about when he initially made his $44 billion offer. But Musk was indeed forced to go through with his purchase of Twitter, which we'll talk more about soon, and this is something that Musk very much does not want people to remember, because, you see, Twitter is part of Elon's project to save humanity. That's the story, now that he had to buy it.
Is extremely important to the future of civilization.
Now, I'm going to stop and go through all this Twitter acquisition stuff because Elon, just months after this James Clayton interview, had crafted a totally new version of the story. And by crafted, I mean crapped it. He pooped it out of his butt and onto Joe Rogan's lap.
If you didn't do it, no one would have. And here's the hilarious narrative that I keep hearing from idiots. Elon's a bad businessman. Twitter is worth, 400% less than when he bought it.
No, it wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth $44 billion, you fucking morons.
Yes.
Like, wrong. And also, you're not taking into account the advertiser boycott.
Exactly.
In this confusing version of reality, Twitter just was trying to force Elon to buy it for $44 billion for no reason. And Elon rightfully was like, what? $44 billion? That's crazy. I know it's not worth that much.
You fucking morons.
When in real life, Elon's the one who wanted to buy Twitter out of nowhere for $44 billion.
What just happened, Ryan?
Twitter's now in a very public fight with its biggest shareholder. He says he wants to pay $54.20 a share to buy up the rest of Twitter that he doesn't have. Of course, $54.20, that's 420, that's a code for marijuana, which he very much enjoys. So is this all a troll?
Elon's current story is that because Twitter is such an important source of truth, he had to buy Twitter, because without it, humanity would have been screwed.
Thank you so much for buying Twitter. Thank you so much. I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do.
I think we're very much at a fork in the road in destiny. The reason I did the Twitter acquisition was it's like, man, if I don't do this, I think we're screwed, is the issue.
But just a few months before he said that, he was saying in this James Clayton interview that, well, he had to buy it because of contractual reasons, to avoid a lawsuit.
So then you changed your mind again and decided to buy it. Did you do that?
I kind of had to.
Right. Did you do that because you thought that a court would make you do that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that is the reason.
So Elon seems a little confused. What really happens?
So I guess my question for you is, in terms of, you said that the reason was because of bots, because Twitter was filled with bots.
Well,
looking back at it now, was there a little bit of you that thought, actually maybe I've overpaid, actually maybe I don't want to do this, I want to get out of this? Be honest.
Yeah, no. The problem was that the publicly stated user numbers were in excess of the real user numbers.
So on one hand, Elon wants to save Twitter from bots, but that many bots? No, that's too many for me to want to save Twitter anymore. He only wanted to help a little bit with the robot takeover. He does want to save humanity, but not, he still wants to make some money doing it. Maybe I'm being unfair. I don't know shit about jack about money. Elon knows that markets and contracts and robots are very complicated for simple folk like me, and so he gives us a simple parable, as did Christ our Lord.
That was literally the issue. It's like let's say you buy a warehouse full of goods, and you're told that less than 5% of the goods in the warehouse are broken. But then you actually get the warehouse. You look into the warehouse, and it turns out actually 25% of the things are broken. You'd be like, huh, that's not what you said.
So then you changed your mind again and decided to buy it. Did you do that?
I kind of had to.
Right. Did you do that because you thought that a court would make you do that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that is the reason.
Right. So you were still trying to get out of it, and then you just were advised by lawyers, look, you're going to buy this.
Yes.
Interesting. So you
Yeah.
So you didn't actually want to purchase it, even when you said you were going.
Well, not at that price.
Really?
No, I mean, like let's say, I think the analogy is pretty close. Like, let's say, it's like there's a warehouse full of goods. They say the warehouse, less than 5% of what's in the warehouse is broken. And then you walk into the warehouse and say, actually, it's 25%. So you might still want to buy what's in that warehouse, but probably at a lower price. Not buying the stuff that's broken.
That didn't help at all.
So I have some problems with this analogy. A more accurate analogy would be, imagine that there was a man, the world's richest man, and he began covertly buying up a majority share of Warehouse Full of Goods, LLC, while not disclosing it to the Federal Warehouse Commission, and in this fictional scenario, non-disclosure is illegal. And then imagine that this man aggressively maneuvers his majority stake into a hostile takeover of the company, offering to buy as is for $44 billion. Now, the corpos over at Warehouse Full of Goods, LLC are slightly dubious of this offer, given that the world's richest man is famously impulsive and a PR nightmare and increasingly unhinged in his near-frequent public remarks. So imagine the warehouse's lawyers say, okay, world's richest man, we're calling your bluff. We'll take the $44 billion. Man's like, well, good. Yeah, that's what I wanted to happen. And so the warehouse says, well, since you're going to be the owner, you have every right to review our warehouse's goods. And that's what any normal person who buys any company would do in corporate land, because it just makes sense to get a look at the books. No need, says the world's richest man. I am on some substances that are making me feel like this decision needs to happen very fast for very important reasons that I can't totally describe. Allegedly, maybe, in this fictional scenario. I just gotta go fast all the time for some reason, and so we gotta really do this right fucking now. And as a matter of fact, here's what I think the deal should be. I'm just gonna send it right over. And so then Warehouse LLC is like, okay, that's good, let's do it. And then we're almost done. And then, like 3 weeks later, the buyer starts posting publicly on Twitter about how he thinks there might be more junk in the warehouse than the Warehouse LLC publicly disclosed. The end. Now, if Elon had said something like that, I could agree with him. But he didn't, so I don't. Because, and I didn't mention this earlier, Elon is also known to use this other kind of manipulative tactic known as lying. Hi, Ryan Mack, author of Character Limit. Thank you for being here. And thank you to your co-author for writing at least half the book, mathematically.
Sure. Yeah, Kate's great. Kate's like my sister at this point.
At one point in this interview, Elon Musk says that when he took over Twitter, the reason why he had to fire so many people was that the whole place was on life support. It was gonna lose $3 to $4 billion, and it only had $1 billion in the bank, so he had no choice. It's like emergency surge.
So that's 4 months to death. Pretty intense.
First of all, is that true? And second of all, how much of that is due to the chaos of Elon taking over the platform?
It is true on its face, but I'll explain why it's misleading. The main reason for that is because in his acquisition, he loaded the company with debt. You know, he did he raised a lot of debt in this deal. It's a $44 billion deal. And I have to look back at the numbers, but I remember it being like $13 billion in debt, which have, if I recall correctly, $1 billion in interest payments alone a year. Imagine your credit card bill where you're paying massive amounts of interest. That's similar situation to what he did here in order to close this deal. It wasn't like Twitter previously had this issue. Twitter was, wasn't the perfect company. It wasn't making hand over fist money like, say, something like Facebook or Google, but it was a perfectly fine Silicon Valley company, sometimes generating profits, sometimes losses, but was motoring along until he came in, bought the company and saddled it with massive amounts of debt. And so the reason why he needed to do this surgery, why he needed to do this, layoffs, was because he needed to cut down costs because he had raised the debt level so high. So that's kind of the explanation of it. And I wish he would have been pressed on that harder, and again, we talked about preparation of that for that interview, but anyone who had been following the deal would understand that was the case. And so it was like self-inflicted. It'd be like, you know, if you saw someone on the street and asked them why they were bruised, their face was bruised, and they're like, yeah, I've been being hit pretty hard, and like you, without explaining like it was themselves punching themselves in the face, you know, it was like very self-inflicted. That was not a good metaphor, but like, you know, you get it.
That was
like,
perfect. We all remember Jim Carrey kicking his own ass in the bathroom of Liar Liar, and that's exactly like that.
What the hell are you doing? I'm kicking my ass! Do you mind?
In fact, in 2023, the greatest danger to Twitter's growth was Elon Musk. It had many other problems pre-Elon, and now it had all those problems and Elon. Users for years had reported negative experiences on the app. Toxicity was, and still is, Twitter's insurmountable brand problem. Like, I was a Twitter guy. We literally called it the hell site, not the most inviting slogan. Now, the face of the company was a person who everyone in America had an opinion on. And chances are, if that opinion was negative and you were not already on Twitter, you just found one more reason to not start an account. For me and a lot of other users, we saw an opportunity to finally break free of our toxic relationship with the hell site. But that's my read here in reality. As noted by the Elephant Graveyard in a video in which he, in like 5 minutes, manages to say everything that I was planning to say in like 3 or 4 hour-long videos on Elon Musk. It's a really great video. As he noted, these oligarchs live in a hyper-real simulacrum, a fictional reality.
In this virtual world, you're still going to be angry all the time, but at least you'll be certain. And that feels good. And because it feels so good, you just want to stay in there forever. Until eventually you've been in there so long that your new virtual world feels more real than your old classic reality. And once it's become more convincing than classic reality, it just becomes your new reality.
Right, that. So because Elon exists in an alternate reality, an alternate world, one might suggest alt-worldly, he's got a whole other spin on what's happening.
Do you have any regrets on the way that some of the staff were let go?
I mean, people were given, 3 months of severance, some cases more.
I mean, you mentioned outages there. There have been several. Yeah. And we've actually spoken to an engineer who works at Twitter, and they said that the plumbing is broken here and it's on fire and there could be problems at any minute. Do you accept that?
I mean, there have been a few outages, but not for very long. And it's currently working fine.
I've spoken to lots of people who've been fired. So lots of people have been let go. I mean, you've gone from 8,000 to 50,000.
The censorship bureau was let go.
According to Elon Musk, the layoffs weren't that bad. The outages weren't that big of a deal. But also, even if they were, it's not his fault because he had to do all this stuff. But Elon, that is actually not what's happening.
That is not what is happening. That is not what is happening.
So in this segment, we just continue on with the video, but occasionally I say that's not what's happening.
So lots of people have been let go. I mean, you've gone from 8,000 to 50,000.
The censorship bureau was let go.
Right, so that is actually not what was happening. Musk did not have to fire anyone. As a man of some means, he could have given everyone raises, but Elon ruthlessly and possibly illegally fired 80% of Twitter's workforce. Engineers, content moderators, coders, and especially anyone who wasn't already publicly loyal to, or at least not publicly critical of, Musk. It's a move that he would end up pulling again with Doge. Musk assumes that everyone is like him, a lazy ass who doesn't actually work that much. So he assumes that most people who worked at Twitter, and then most civil servants in the US government, were probably lazy asses who didn't need to be there. So then he fires everyone and then is surprised when it doesn't work. Like a fucking idiot. Musk didn't just want to fire people, though. He was willing to breach contracts and labor laws in millions of dollars in fines just to do it. Reports Character Limit.
I don't care what the contracts say,
he said. But some of the leases have been signed for the next 30 years, said one director. We can't negotiate. They've already been agreed to.
Everything can be renegotiated,
Musk replied. And every step of the way, Musk's behavior is emboldened by his lawyer, Alex Spiro. No relation. Speaking to terrified employees who were concerned about the suddenness of the layoffs and whether labor laws had been violated in the process, Spiro said, "Here's the thing. I've known Elon for a long time. Elon is willing to take extraordinary amounts of legal risk. Some of the people on the video call put their heads in their hands in disbelief that a seasoned lawyer would say something like that out loud. He is launching rockets into space," Spiro said. "If the worst we get is a query from the FTC, that's not the big leagues for us." Following this purge, Twitter had an unprecedented amount of outages. Now that all the people who prevent that sort of thing from happening had been given the boot. The experience was constantly changing too, as I remember it. It was like every time you logged into the app, there had been either an annoying new feature added or something convenient had been removed. He's lying about these numbers, by the way. He says too many lies for me to pause every time, so I'll just quietly in the background just let you know if it's a lie, what he's saying.
We've seen some all-time highs in terms of total user time.
That's a lie.
So we passed 8 billion user minutes per day, which is a lot of user minutes.
Not compared to every other social media platform.
So, yeah, so usage is up.
It was down, actually.
Growth is good.
No, it was bad.
But the results speak for themselves.
That's true.
The system, despite being at all-time highs of usage, is fast.
It was actually slow.
It's more responsive than it was before.
It was slower and less responsive. Now, this is purely my subjective opinion, as opposed to the centrist, fact-based discourse thus far. But I think that all the things Elon touts as achievements here, sucked.
And we've also added long-form tweets.
Sucks.
We've added, you can now post videos after 2 hours, and soon videos of any length.
That sucks.
We're rolling out our subscriber programs so people can
pay money.
Content creators can actually make a living on Twitter by having some of their content behind a paywall.
Paywalls suck. I really loved Twitter. I really liked that app and how specific it was. It really did a thing simply and well, and it did a thing that no other apps quite did. I loved the simplicity, and I do think that the simplicity made Twitter what it was. 2-hour videos with ad revenue for creators, that's YouTube's thing. That's a great idea, obviously, but it's not for Twitter. Twitter had a thing. It had a clear brand that was synonymous with the name, like how Google then Googling just becomes a shorthand for searching something on the internet. Twitter had that. Any sort of short form social media posting became a tweet. The most incredible branding you could possibly get. That's what these greedy capitalist companies want. And Elon took that away even. Oh, I exited it. What? He takes over a thing and ruins it in the name of what? A fucking conspiracy theory in his fucking head that doesn't make any sense. There really was an opportunity to improve a platform that was declining. It already was in decline when Elon took it over, and there was an opportunity to do something cool, and he didn't, including one thing that he lied about, which was making Twitter's code open source.
The code should be on GitHub, So then, so people can look through it and say, I see a problem here. I don't agree with this. They can highlight issues, right. Suggest changes in the same way that you sort of update Linux or Signal or something like that,
But as I understand it,
we open source the algorithm, so there's transparency about what tweets get shown, what content gets shown versus not.
Hey Grok, are car salesmen known for being honest? This one is more complicated than a straight up lie. He did release some code, but you might have noticed that despite numerous Twitter knockoffs trying to compete with the platform's decline, try as they might, none of them quite work like Twitter in its glory days. And a part of that is because the thing that makes all social media apps tick is their algorithms. How does the system decide which post gets seen by the most people and which gets seen by fewer? We don't know. We don't know how Facebook does it, or TikTok, or YouTube, or Twitter. So like and subscribe, just in case the algorithm doesn't pick it up.
What are you really going to trust? Are you going to trust some sort of black box algorithm from some other site, or are you going to trust the thing that you can actually see and understand?
I'm sorry, but at this particular time, that's looking like cap.
Elon is touting transparency, but this is an illusion. He did make some of Twitter's code public, but not the code that makes Twitter, or X. A common cult leader tactic, by the way, the illusion of transparency. I don't have any secrets, except all the stuff you're not allowed to know, and how dare you ask. And speaking of culty lies...
I guess taking your argument to a logical conclusion then, do you accept that there's more misinformation on the platform if it's not being policed in the same way?
Confident, like there's nothing to hide. It doesn't look very nervous at all.
I actually think there's less these days because we've eliminated so many of the bots which were pushing scams and spam.
That's a lie.
And previous management turned a blind eye to the bots because their bonuses were tied to user growth. So I think we've got less information because we don't have the bot problem that we used to do.
Here, in reality, an independent investigation by the University of California and the University of Southern Florida showed that bots and spam accounts had persisted at the same level and potentially increased after Elon's takeover. Reporting on the study, Australia's ABC noted they found coordinated accounts or bot accounts associated with information campaigns increased more than non-coordinated accounts following Mr. Musk's X purchase. There was no significant change in the activity or engagement for these accounts, but the report noted an increase in the number of active bot-like accounts and a substantial upward trend in cryptocurrency posts. It is, even to researchers, difficult to tell where bots end and robotic Elon cultists begin. What's the difference between a crypto spam bot and a functionally illiterate manchild who endlessly preaches about internet money like it's the gospel? This is why it can be hard to argue with Musk's gut assertion about the bot numbers. Also, because he doesn't really release any reliable data on it, because he's not as transparent as he makes himself out to be. This isn't just a lie, though. It's a large lie. Elon's obsession with bots is well documented by him. I can't stress this enough. Elon refused to take the time to look into Twitter's data before he signed the deal, such as its internal earnings projections, its code, or its data on the number of bots on the platform. He had a right to do it. He should have looked at it. His lawyers and Twitter's lawyers advised him to do it. Anybody else in his position would have done it, but Elon didn't feel like it. At the time. By the time he was in charge of Twitter, as Character Limit reports, Musk became entranced by an even more conspiratorial notion that half of Twitter's employees were bots, or ghost employees. Part 6. Ghosts. Can you talk to me about ghost employees? I got a little spooked out reading one part of your book when I found out that there were ghosts working at Twitter.
So yeah, the ghost employee thing, again, goes back to this idea that Twitter was just so mismanaged that there were people working there who didn't actually do anything, or people that worked there who didn't even exist. After the acquisition, he takes over, and within a couple weeks, there's a vesting cliff. So if those folks are familiar, employees at these tech companies are compensated not just in cash and salary, but also in stock. And they hit these milestones every couple months or quarters where they receive, these tranches of stock. That's part of their compensation. That's essentially how a lot of folks in Silicon Valley get pretty wealthy. It's not just off of their cash compensation. And so there was this coming vesting period, but in order for that vest to happen, he wanted his HR executives and his leadership to do an audit of the existing employee base to make sure that there was no employees there who didn't exist, which is kind of a crazy thought. He thought Twitter was so mismanaged that there were people on payroll that didn't exist or were dead or had left the company and were still getting paid. And so every manager in the company had to, essentially email folks or Slack them and be like, hey, you work here, right? And there had to be some kind of verification of that for thousands of folks, which, on its face seems like not that big of a deal, but it's just kind of absurd when you think about it. And this goes to the, he once again did this again when he went into government and started looking at Social Security beneficiaries and made all these claims about, dead people receiving benefits and, massive fraud within the government, to the tunes of billions of dollars. And it stems from that same place that, the people that ran these things before him were so incompetent or so corrupt that they enabled this fraud that was robbing Twitter of its resources or robbing the American people of its taxpayer dollars.
It recalls Trump's conspiracies about dead people voting, a thing that is impossible and makes no logical sense. But to return to the elephant graveyard, when you live in a hyperreal simulacrum, nothing has to conform to reality. It just has to reinforce the bottom line. In this case, that Elon is a witty super genius who will save humanity. So he must be right. Okay, even if he's not totally correct on the numbers, you got to admit bots are a problem. And yeah, okay, it's a problem on every website right now. And it was a well-known issue the existing Twitter leadership was already battling every day. But Elon will battle it better because Elon is better. He has to be. I've made defending this man's genius a pillar of my self-perception for a reason, goddammit. So Elon, like all cult leaders, finds a convenient scapegoat for his self-inflicted problems, the way L. Ron Hubbard scapegoated psychologists for debunking his work in psychology and accurately noting Hubbard's own psychological imbalance.
The censorship bureau was let go.
Then, like all cult leaders, he integrates this scapegoat into his simulacrum. That's another way of saying he starts believing his own bullshit.
Extremely important to the future of civilization.
Hubbard may well have been a cynical grifter at first, but by the end of his life, he nearly electrocuted himself to death trying to fry the thetans out of his own body. Like, let's say you're Elon Musk and you directly told Twitter employees to their faces that you were not planning on firing 70% of the staff, contrary to reports that you told investors otherwise. Well, you could embrace being a soulless ghoul who deserves nothing but shame and suffering for the rest of your worthless life, or you could invent an insane conspiracy theory that reassures your ego that you're really not firing people at all, because most of the people you're firing aren't even real.
Bottom line is, no one's going to get in trouble. Nobody should feel sad at all.
And besides, you're not firing 70% of the staff. You're firing 80%. So you really didn't lie. So Elon gets frustrated. Why isn't this guy just sucking up to him like everyone else in his miserable life? Hey, Jim or whatever, I've never even heard of you, frankly, but I'm giving you the break of a lifetime, and you're not being very nice.
Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice.
No wonder these guys got along. Clayton persists, pushing back on Musk's claim that hate speech has gone down on the platform, when in fact that California investigation we talked about earlier demonstrated a 50% increase in hate speech since Elon's takeover. Now that study didn't exist at the time of the interview. The BBC and other news orgs had reported on anecdotal reports of increase in hate speech, but as best I can tell, no hard data really existed at the time. Convenient if you're the guy who owns the robot farm. So Elon returns to his favorite rhetorical tactic, the challenge. Part 7, the viral moment.
I say so that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example.
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
This is the moment that was clipped over and over by his fans as proof that their Lord and Savior is a sassy troll king who can dismantle his feeble opponents with nothing more than mere words.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
And here's what I'll say. James Clayton should have brought receipts, for sure. He fucked up. I reached out to James Clayton for comment. No joke. I actually did try and reach him for comment, but it was not available by the time of this recording. I just could only find one email, and it might not have been the right one. Receipts, though. The BBC made a similar mistake when Lucy Williamson interviewed Andrew Tate, apparently not realizing that the person she was interviewing was so disingenuous that he would simply deny he had ever said the things that he famously said on camera, like the only things that he was famous for. No, I didn't say that.
And I'm quoting back to you your own words where you describe
they're not my words.
Coercion.
They're words you found. They're words you found on the internet. What you found are clips from the internet, some text from the internet, and you're going to sit here and tell me that that's the reason I should be
your website, your words.
It's not my website.
Yes, it is.
What, you're going to read a quote from things I said in the past? The only thing that ever matters is what I'm saying right now. And right now, I'm saying that's all fake. And sure enough, his cultists painted Tate's taint. So this is the really bad part. James Clayton really flubs here. Apologies if you're watching, James. You'll get your flowers in the end. But I want you to feel like James, so I'm not going to do any goofy edits here. You're just going to have to raw dog this faceplant. Wait, can you ever not raw dog a faceplant?
Something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't need. Honestly, I
don't. You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore because I just don't particularly like it.
But you said
a lot of people are quite similar. I only look.
Hang on a second. You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
well, then how did you see the hateful content?
I do think, for whatever it's worth, as whatever kind of guy I am, that modern journalists do need to be ready to whip out their phones and pull out clips these days. All these guys are so weaselly. We can't often say a lot of good things about CNN, but I saw this clip come up on Threads, and it is a surprisingly good example of what I think people should do in these situations.
And over the summer in an interview, you said, quote, "There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective." Do you still believe that?
I never said that.
So stop me. We have the clip. Please play the clip.
Play the whole clip. There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
So you did say it.
I just like it.
I never said that.
So stop.
Stand by your words. Now, it's not like it solves anything, really. Obviously, RFK just keeps lying, but it really shows what a liar he is.
So you did say it. Do you still believe it?
Well, here's what I...
It forces the person being interviewed and the viewers at home and the journalist herself to confront the evidence of the alleged lie. Maybe the interviewee, or whatever the right word for that is, will accuse you of using AI, but I think they should have to go on the record and say that dumb shit. Like, fuck it. Okay, I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, the next interview that we're going to be covering is the Don Lemon one. It's so good. Well, we're also going to talk about the iconic Leslie Stahl interview, but that's kind of its own video, and it is going to be good. Stay tuned. The thing that Don Lemon does that really wrecks Elon's narrative beyond repair is using example after example of hate speech on the platform, making Musk confront the real things that are really on this app.
Well, that's not what the study shows. And you said you like transparency. I'm going to show you this. And
Don, you can get a study that will tell you whatever you want.
But these are just a handful of extremely, you look at those anti-Semitic and racist tropes and tweets. And as of this morning, they're still on X. And from your own content policy, these posts should have been deleted. So why haven't they been deleted? Why are they still there? Did you...
Oh my god, that's so nice after watching James Clayton not have any proof for things.
The thousands of comments reviewed for this video made clear to me that Elon's fans really loved when he told James Clayton to describe a hateful thing.
What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
And no joke, it's a very good troll move. Like, if you don't have receipts, there is no good way to answer this question, is there? Don Lemon clearly did his homework and learned from Clayton and Andrew Ross Sorkin's mistakes, to be quite frankly. But, and this is a big but, Elon is full of shit here. James Clayton is not lying. Elon did not catch him in a lie. He's just refusing to argue in good faith. What James Clayton is saying makes complete sense. Musk just interrupts him and then twists his words to make it sound like he's got Twayton, and then twisting his words to make it sound like he's got James pinned. So for you taint painters out there, allow me to explain how words work and what they mean really quick. Musk asks Clayton if he has seen an increase in hate speech on the platform.
I mean, you use Twitter.
Right.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
Personally, my For You, I would see I get more of that kind of content, yeah, personally.
Clayton says yes, he has. In fact, he no longer even bothers using the For You page due to the hate speech that he saw there.
Honestly,
You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why, because I don't actually use that For You feed anymore because I just don't particularly like it.
Do you think
a lot of people are quite similar.
So instead of using that page, Clayton now just sticks to looking at all the people whose accounts he follows. And obviously, or maybe this is not obvious to Elon fans, Clayton does not follow hate accounts on purpose. So now he doesn't see these posts as much, because now he doesn't bother looking at the For You page anymore. Elon Musk, super genius, says, oh, well, hang on a second. If you don't use the For You page anymore, how could you possibly know that there was hate speech in the past, or is anymore? Like, what?
Hello, customer. It's me, chef from the restaurant. Why, soever, don't you come to my wonderful restaurant anymore?
Yeah, I stopped going to your restaurant because it smells like butts all the time.
Excuse me. How do you know my restaurant smells like butts if you don't even eat there anymore, flyer?
What? No, I'm just saying it did smell like that every time I was in there for a solid month.
Unbelievable. Give me an example right now. Describe a buttful smell.
How are you not understanding what I'm saying?
Aha! Game, set, match. I am the best chef in the world, and fuck you for even suggesting that there was a problem.
You asked me, you psycho. Why did you ask me if you didn't expect? That's kind of what's happening here. Clayton made a rookie mistake in not bringing some screenshots. That is true, but in fairness, this is Twitter Spaces, which was not set up to do that kind of thing at the time, and they only had a 20-minute heads up on the fact that this would be a live stream. You can see a world where this is pre-taped, and then on the screen, they are able to show some fact-checking or some examples of posts like the Don Lemon interview is edited. It's just one camera on a tripod setup here, and that's it. So, like, probably the best Clayton could have done was to break out his phone and present Elon with either what his timeline actually looks like or a screenshot, which Musk could easily dismiss. And since it wouldn't show up on the TV, his fans would dismiss it too.
I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces.
As Clayton does note, Elon had allowed the hate speakers back on the platform.
I think the issue some people have is that a lot of people were brought back. I mean, some people were brought back who were previously banned for spreading things like QAnon conspiracies. You have people like Andrew Tate who were brought back, who were previously banned for things like hate speech. Do you think you prioritize freedom of speech over misinformation and hate speech?
You see, it was relevant that I brought up Andrew Tate, and this is a good video. But suppose that you're a liar, and all your fans are brainwashed into thinking everything you say is brilliant. Well, then you can just act like you won an argument, and your millions of acolytes will clap like seals. Or, no, seals are cute. They'll clap like ugly humans who suck. But oh boy, is Elon feeling himself after this one. He has an allegedly malformed boner right now.
And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change its editorial policy? Are you aware of that?
This is not an interview about the BBC.
Oh, you thought it wasn't?
I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces. I am not a representative of the BBC's editorial policy. I want to make that clear. Let's talk about something else.
I'm interviewing you too.
All right, let's talk about something else.
You weren't expecting that.
Wow. Well, that would be a kind of an embarrassing thing to say after you didn't win an argument, but delusionally thought you did. So I guess Elon must have been smart just then, and that's my mistake.
But then James Clayton pulls a Chad move. There's no better way to say it.
There isn't. I checked. He references the most word of the day is coming back. Devastating thing that's ever happened to Elon Musk's ego up to that point in his pathetic life. A devastating moment where Elon's hyper-real simulacrum was shattered in front of a massive stadium of boos and hisses and condemnations. The Dave Chappelle fiasco.
I want to talk about if you have any regrets.
Elon's still feeling very dominant from that conversation, adopting a kind of Dracula pose, a pterodactyl. What do you want to call this? Sound off in the comments.
And you know, I think you were booed at a Dave Chappelle concert. I think your own lawyers... A little. Well, some say a little, some say a bit more.
I love it. It's so mean. But it's not out of pocket. This was in the news, both the event and Elon's reaction to the event. In December of 2022, Musk got the filthiest lump of coal in Christmas history, being booed by a stadium full of his own people, his fellow pro-jokesters, anti-wokesters, and a supposedly safe space where a few brave truth-tellers like him gather sacredly to tell the same 2 or 3 jokes over and over. A 2020's Dave Chappelle comedy show.
Hey everybody, I'm Tiny!
Dave Chappelle is a legendary comedian. I am, of course, a millennial who grew up with the Chappelle Show, and it was wonderful. But a lot of times, actual legends are once vibrant heroes grow old and become bitter outcasts, permanently broken by their adventures. And also living in Ohio doesn't help. Dave Chappelle began shifting to the right on trans issues and Donald Trump around 2019.
The alphabet people.
Many were pretty disappointed by Chappelle's lazy new material, and I do mean lazy. Once known for his high energy and rapid pace, Chappelle now tiredly trudges across the stage and mumbles out mostly jokeless sermons where he complains about kids these days and all their crazy genders.
I feel bad for teens, but they're so confusing.
He's done only this for like 4 consecutive comedy specials now, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And I am lingering on this because I need future historians to understand that, first of all, they came to the right place. This channel is nothing if not a dispassionate recounting of facts for future historians. I'm just stopping on this because I think it's worth mentioning that in 2022, Dave Chappelle had a very different audience than he used to have. He still has and will always have some lifelong fans for sure, but his resurgent popularity was due in no small part to attracting new fans. Right-wing reactionaries who liked hearing a black guy say stuff Fox News hosts usually say. In other words, Elon Musk had a good reason to think that he was among friends when this shit went down.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the richest man in the world. Elon.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Bob.
Weren't expecting this, were you?
You weren't expecting that.
It sounds like some of them people you fired are in the audience.
So, I mean, the sort of the left wanted to make comedy illegal, you know? Yeah. Like, you can't make fun of anything. So then it was like, comedy sucks.
It's so bad. Like an actual nightmare. No bits.
The world of bits.
Peter, stop. I said no bits. Full sincerity for Elon. I cannot imagine how horrible it must feel to be booed by this many people. And it's hard to believe, but it actually got worse. Chris Rock came out and tried to lighten the mood for an encore. Dave Chappelle got Elon to say his old Chappelle Show catchphrase.
What a tweet.
I really thought that Elon had somehow wandered into the green room of the Chappelle show, like in one of his drug-induced stupors, and wore Chappelle down or something. Like, come on, let me on. It'll be really funny. But no, reportedly, this is something that Dave chose to do on purpose. Like, Chappelle thought people would be into it. This was his big closer. Or he's just mean and knew they would boo him and thought that would be funny. I don't know. But I don't think it really brought the right kind of PR. And it's another example of how Dave's comedy instincts are deteriorating.
You shut the fuck up with your moves. There's something better than you can do. Booing is not the best thing you can do.
Nobody was having it. Elon's defenders really couldn't defend this one too much. And if we know one thing about Elon, it's that he needs to be perceived as funny.
That was something. I am become meme.
Yeah, pretty much.
So as you might imagine, Musk had a complete mental breakdown. Following the incident, he locked himself in his office, and his employees were so concerned that they tried to get the police to do a wellness check on their catatonic boss. But even though I've been talking about this for several minutes, Clayton brings this up as like a drive-by.
You were booed at a Dave Chappelle concert. I think your own lawyer...
A little.
Well, some say a little, some say a bit more.
And Musk never fully recovers, not in this interview, and perhaps not in life generally. There's a small moment in this interview that got no attention in the wider media really, but I think it's critical. Clayton points out that if running Twitter was such a burden for Elon, why not just let another CEO handle it? And Elon responds by saying that he did appoint a new CEO, his dog.
Since you became CEO, there's been another story in town.
No, I'm not CEO anymore.
Okay, you're Chief Twit? Or what are you?
Another Clayton drive-by. Chief Twit. I'm recording this like an hour before I upload the video. I barely caught him saying this.
I'm not CEO anymore.
Okay, you're Chief Twit? Or what are you?
Oh, you're not CEO? What are you, Chief Twit? That's pretty good. Where's this guy been?
No, my dog Floki is the CEO.
Okay.
He's taken over. I can tell you, I'm not the CEO of Twitter. My dog is the CEO of Twitter.
Okay. Have you got any...
It's a great dog.
Other than the dog.
Very alert, and it's hard to get anything by him.
Okay, that's good to know. Other than the dog, have you got any successes tonight?
He's got a black tail turtleneck. What more do you need?
Okay.
It's just memes, everyone. But this is actually one of Elon's favorite talking points, that terms like CEO, CFO, and like corporate higher-up jargon is made up.
So CEO is a made-up title, CFO is a made-up title, General Counsel made-up title, don't mean anything.
So I guess I'll be more direct. I mean, are you considering stepping down as CEO?
I changed my title to Techno King. And by the way, this is a formal SEC filing. I'm legally a whatever Techno King. I just did that as kind of like a joke because these titles don't mean a lot.
Yeah, like yes, it is made up, but why is he saying this?
You know that there's actually only 3 titles that actually mean anything for a corporation. It's president, secretary, and treasurer, and technically they could be the same person. And then all these other, chief, whatever officer are basically just made up.
For whatever it's worth, though, we know Elon doesn't really believe this.
Somebody's executive ability is underrated. Since the president is effectively the chief executive officer of the country, it actually matters if they're a good executive officer.
The entire reason he and fellow billionaire Sam Altman had a falling out over OpenAI was because of disagreements over who would be CEO, reportedly. Weird thing for Elon to care about, since these are made-up terms that they don't even really matter. And they don't matter so much that he can just name his own dog as Twitter's chief operating officer. At the same time, I think this is more proof that Elon is knowingly a destructionist. Reality, our shared reality, the hierarchies and the systems of accountability that bind us are, of course, social constructs, and yes, so is language, so is money, so are governments and ethics and laws and borders. The good, the bad, it's all stuff that humans made up. But Elon sees himself as someone who has transcended reality. Why should the rules apply to him? Rules should apply only to other people who annoy Elon personally. I don't care about CEOs and stuff. They should all be replaced by dogs. But Elon knowingly broke employment contracts and fired thousands of workers who needed their jobs to afford healthcare, childcare, and a living wage. He fucks over all these people who work way harder than him, and then as a troll move, replaces one of the humans he fired with a dog. I mean, that's literally dehumanizing. But what are you gonna do about it? It's just memes. Because you know what else is just memes? Truth.
Part 9.
Yeah, so this is where my existential dread really kicks in. Okay, future Jake popping in. I don't know what happened to my hair here while I was filming, but it takes me a while to notice it. It is addressed eventually. Now that I've paused the video to talk about it, you won't be distracted by it. Because what we now know about Elon, and what a lot of people knew at the time, but we just apparently weren't allowed to say for some reason, is that he can't be reasoned with because he doesn't want to be reasoned with. He is committed to his alternate reality.
You know, who's to say that something is misinformation? What we're not going to do is say that there's some anointed class of journalists who are the special ones who get to tell everyone what they should think. That it should be up to the people what they think.
In a nutshell, this is why I find these older interviews with Elon Musk really fascinating. It's like we're seeing a relatively normal person who is relatively used to interacting with powerful people in his capacity as a journalist, realizing the sort of monster that his industry has helped create. Because for a while, even powerful people were held to our shared reality, like Richard Nixon. Yeah, I didn't forget about that, and I wasn't proud that I just thought of it right now. A way to do a callback to that. The entire reason why Fox News exists is Rupert Murdoch's accurate suspicion that if they had a controlled propaganda network and were relentless about it and Republicans were unified, that Nixon would have never had to resign, that he could have kept his head down and powered through.
We got to keep our heads down and power through.
I think that's really what Trumpism is. That kind of annoying term Trumpism is really just shamelessness. It's the political strategy of being confrontationally unapologetic. Like, I'm going to say some crazy shit, and no, I will not apologize because I am actually very brave for saying the N-word.
Nuclear. I call it the N-word.
Nuclear. What did you think he meant?
There are two N-words, and you can't use either of them.
What the anti-democracy people understand very well is that democracy is a shared reality. They talk very openly about the fact that the network state, their concept for a government, and that we definitely don't have time to get into, is a way of LARPing, live action role-playing.
People were LARPing.
We can argue about how much or how sincerely they believe these delusional things, but they are certainly conscious of the fact that they can shape reality. The leaked Project 2025 training videos that ProPublica put up on YouTube, they openly say at one point,
what brings to mind is the quote, "He who controls the language rules the world." It's attributed to Joseph Stalin and other tyrants. And George Orwell stated, "He who controls language controls culture." Even more, Hitler and others lived by the creed. If you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. Without doubt, it's true. Language is a powerful and often controlling tool.
You want to use your common sense to redact the words and definitions which are weakening our nation.
Part of the shared reality of a democracy is systems of having consequences and punishments. And then you have to argue about how to ethically hold people to account. And we don't have time to get into it. But I think ours, when we had one, could have used some work. And I think what got me started on that tangent was the fact that in these sorts of interviews, you're seeing our normie stand-in realize this fact in some way.
You're literally asking me?
Yes.
Well, no, you are the arbiter on Twitter because you own Twitter.
Yes, I'm saying who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information?
They're going to say
Tell to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things and that they were inappropriate things and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform, right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
Okay.
Wait, does this person live in my reality? Are they huffing their own smells, which we don't have to talk about where they're coming from? The usefulness of an alternate reality is you get to psychologically free yourself of real realities, shame and consequences, and shared responsibility to future generations. And before I tell you this next part, I do think we should probably go back in that corner.
Welcome, Internet. I'm so happy to share with you this conspiracy theory.
Pretend I cared enough to film in a new corner. Musk, Thiel, Altman, and their ilk view the planet and other humans as an expendable resource and their ultimate goal of colonizing other planets and finding immortality. If you think that sounds stupid, you're right, but it is literally what these stupid people really believe. Peter Thiel can't even commit to believing in the continuation of the human race. Musk, of all people, knows this better than anyone. His most debilitating addiction isn't ketamine, it's Twitter. Elon just so happens to be a useful case study in America's addiction to unreality. We've all seen friends and neighbors, and maybe even ourselves, slowly turn into monsters because of unshakable addiction to a substance that is designed to be as addictive as possible. Social media algorithms. You know, the stuff that's not open source. And that's why I do think it's worth focusing on this shit, even though it's the very recent past. Because the very recent past is the easiest history to forget. Everyone watching this was alive during COVID, right? This is not a video for babies. This is for adults only. I should have mentioned that up top, because we talk about serious things and we get into things that journalists are saying in serious books. If you're an adult, try and think about the COVID pandemic for like more than 30 seconds without going into a rabbit hole of disbelief in your own mind. Did we really live that way for the better part of 3 years? Oh, God damn it, my hair looks crazy. All right, and so I wasn't looking at the camera, so I just now realized that my hair looked insane. But the pandemic is like, we took that entire experience and we just like kind of like crumple it up in this little compact ball, and we stuff it in the back of our heads. Like, ooh, where'd it go? This is why we wad up those chapters of our life into this misshapen lump in our head, and then there'll just be a reminder, like post-pandemic Elon Musk SNL sketch.
Oh, I said that out loud. Quick laugh so she thinks you were kidding.
We've been talking about Elon the entire time, and I'm willing to bet that just for even a few minutes, you forgot that he hosted SNL. I forgot just while I was recording this. And maybe there's a difference between just not thinking about something and forgetting, but you understand what I'm saying. We're very good at compartmentalizing craziness, and I think it's worth stopping down and realizing that this is fucking crazy, and this should have ended this guy's career. How did we let this happen? Stay tuned. In my next video, we're going to get into how the media made Elon Musk. And all of it's happening in no small part due to a few men's egos and their unstoppable wealth and resources. You know how Bruce Wayne will get in trouble for ruining everyone's nice dinner? And he's like, I'm buying this hotel. Well, that's a fucking asshole move, actually. Nobody should be able to do that. But that's what Elon Musk did do with Twitter. His fellow billionaires invest in private islands and private jets to those islands, and also normal things like restaurants and shit and sports teams. You know, Bruce Wayne type of shit. And pedophilia. But Elon mainly just wanted to feed his addiction. Who cares that it was one of the shittiest, most hated social media apps that stopped being good like 3 years before he even bought it? If Elon throws enough money at it, he can make it matter, because he matters already. He can make a magical place where everyone has to say that he's funny. He can start living there even. He loves the building.
You said this in the BBC, have you?
So you then came into Twitter with a sync. What were your first impressions?
Well,
might be a good time to show some humility.
I thought, wow, this is a really nice office building.
Oh.
And
expensive.
Yes, a very expensive office building. Great decor. It's a lovely place.
Returning viewers note the little stinker face. He's up to something.
And I mean, and definitely is spending money like it's going out of fashion. Which it isn't quite going out of fashion yet.
And he is already there all the time. I mean, he sleeps there sometimes.
Are you sleeping in the office?
I sometimes sleep in the office.
It's a pretty important place. I mean, it's how he's going to help save humanity, along with his spaceships and magic cars. As part of saving the world, he will turn Twitter, nay X, into like a headquarters of truth, like a ministry of accurate information.
My strong intuitive sense is that having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
I think we can be the best, the least inaccurate. That's our goal. The least inaccurate. And I think I think we might be there already.
So on one hand, Twitter is going to be the best source of information, the least inaccurate source of information humanly possible. But also, no, it won't, because there's really no such thing as information.
One person's misinformation is another person's information.
But also, we do have a plan to correct misinformation, and that plan is community notes.
So community notes plus getting rid of millions and millions of bots every day, I guess. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what you think is tackling misinformation over content moderation. And I think that's the bit that a lot of people will go, really?
Really? Yes, really.
Elon's plan is to make things so chaotic that people don't know what to believe anymore. Who even knows what's true, really? Who's to say what's hateful? Him? Oh, well, he doesn't really feel like doing that. And there's so much contradictory shit, and learning things and figuring out what's true is hard, so I guess I'll just believe in whatever version of reality requires the least amount of effort and human interaction on my part.
There's this movie called Mountainhead that I really liked.
All the cool, smart YouTubers that I like thought it was bad, so I don't like to talk about it, even though I actually do plan on talking about it at length in a future video, stay tuned. But there's an Elon Musk surrogate character, and he has this line that I think is distressingly well observed from writer-director Jesse Armstrong.
We're going to show users as much shit as possible until everyone realizes nothing's that fucking serious. Yeah, nothing means anything. And everything's funny. Exactly. And cool.
This is what I see in these dark, distant glares of Elon's. I'm not the body language expert, this guy is, but I think that Elon is already seeing the first fruits of the post-truth world he seeks to grow.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Behavioral Arts. My name is Spidey and I use my degree in sociology and psychology, my certifications in criminal interrogation and body language analysis, and over 10 years experience as an award-winning mentalist.
But here's the thing, I learned it from one of the great Greek philosophers.
You have to exist in a fucking society.
Yeah, we really do all have to live together and get along, you fucking idiot. Like, we're all idiots about a lot of shit. And one of the ways that you know somebody is like a bullshit artist is if they pretend to be a genius about everything, because that's not actually possible. Bo, take it from a guy who's had to learn this lesson the hard way. If you make your only personality trait being a snarky, contrarian, know-it-all, you're just gonna be an asshole who doesn't have any friends. Now I just use YouTube videos as my snarky asshole outlet. And I've passed on those traits to my son, Bo the cat. And like all asshole millennial guys who look and sound and dress like me, obviously one of my favorite movies of all time is The Social Network.
You're gonna go through life thinking that girls don't like you because you're a nerd. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that that won't be true. It'll be because you're an asshole.
15 years later, sorry, I know. 15 years later, this is still one of the better distillations of what these guys are like. But 15 years ago, there was a whole movie about how Mark Zuckerberg is an asshole who stole his only good ideas from his friends and then fucked them over. Like in the same way that we're all idiots, we're all assholes sometimes, but some people become assholes. They become asshole.
I am become meme.
And the problem with these oligarchs is they've got the capabilities to widen and gapen their asshole till it stretches to the ends of the earth. And then Mars even. And who are their perceived enemies? Anyone who criticizes them in any way, shape, or form? Oh, they hate some more than others, for sure, but their war is on woke. Who fits that definition? Oh, literally everyone who criticizes any of these guys ever? Well, that's probably you if you're watching this video, and they've already got all of our data, too. I don't love that. But here is where I find hope. We humans really are all idiots and assholes who aren't super geniuses at everything. And in this James Clayton interview, which I've been laser focused on this entire time, by the end, Clayton realizes the kind of person he's dealing with.
Elon is playing a game here. He knows that what he says is considered hate speech, but he just is a hateful bigot. He is transphobic. He is a white nationalist. The man was already on a years-long anti-Semitism streak by the time he did this little Roman salute gesture. Clayton is interviewing Elon as if Elon is somebody who exists in reality, as if he is somebody who might concede. Elon knows the game he's playing, and his audience knows the game he's playing, but James Clayton does not at first. But I think he does eventually. So let's get into the good moment that Clayton has.
Part 10, the rest of the video. I mean, you've already made it this far. I promise it's really good. So he walks Elon into a really good trap. It's great. You don't even really realize he's setting it up. Elon doesn't anyway.
I mean, you've had community notes placed on your own tweets.
Yes.
One of them involving an alleged diamond mine?
Diamond mine?
A mine that...
What diamond mine?
A mine that your father part-owned?
Yeah, my father never owned so you're thinking of an emerald mine.
Emerald mine.
Oh, Elon loves this topic. My father never owned an emerald mine. He was just a stakeholder in one and made tons of money from it. And no, my dad being rich has nothing to do with me being rich. The radical left is at it again.
Yeah, I'd like to see a picture of this alleged emerald mine.
Because you've been community noted on that tweet.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, but he never owned a emerald mine. This is total bullshit.
Not even a 50% stake.
No.
Because in community notes.
But first of all...
And Elon has no idea that he just contradicted his entire argument in favor of truth on Twitter.
Some sort of property register, there'd be like a picture of it. It's not like you can say, oh, that's my mine. You know, these things are hotly debated. If you've got something valuable, you have to have some property record, like a house. but much more important than a house. And yet there is no property record whatsoever. There is no picture of this mine whatsoever. It doesn't exist. It's fake.
So it's a really good example then, because there is a community note on that tweet that says, you said this thing on the X day, blah, blah, blah. So in that instance, the community notes didn't work.
Oh man, it's like this Elon guy is really fucking stupid or something.
So you're saying that that's a way of solving misinformation, but you're literally saying one of those community notes is wrong.
I realize I've referred to Elon Musk a few times as a cult leader, and I figured I should ask Ryan Mack what he thinks about that.
I don't know. I don't think I'd ever make the argument that Elon Musk is an outright cult leader. I don't have the knowledge base or the definitions for that. I will say that we have talked to a lot of folks in our reporting who have compared him to a cult leader. One of the people in our book is someone named Esther Crawford, who became an elevated person in his orbit for a short time after the acquisition. And she grew up essentially in a cult, or at least in a kind of a religious-based society that people have talked about as being a cult. We got wind of a conversation that she had with people in Elon's orbits shortly after the takeover. And these people who were advisors of him, who work at his different companies or are his executive assistants, like basically sat her down and said, this is the way you need to talk to Elon. You know, we need to keep him focused on the mission. He is the person that gives us our reason for being or our reason for working and helps us understand the mission. And we need to be in service of that. Like, that feels just like very strange to have it like you have to be sat down and lectured about that there's this great leader here that we have to appease. And so that became a running thing throughout our reporting of like, these people who were his advisors weren't really providing him advice. They were there to please him in the way that one would with a cult leader, or one would as a member of a king's court. You know, and sometimes they would hem and haw, you know, and they would maybe suggest something here and there, but by and large, they were at his service, right? They weren't there to necessarily push back. They were there to laugh at his jokes. They were there to applaud him when he, you know, held up a shiny object. And that was the kind of environment that was in place in the early days of running Twitter. We write about how Walter Isaacson, who wrote a biography about Elon, ends up giving him advice on like how to price Twitter blue. So there's all these people that get captured in Elon's orbit that become members of the king's court or subjects, are all trying to please him in some ways. And I think it's just a weird environment. And so, you know, I have, again, no knowledge really of cults or whatever, but like that just does not seem like a normal working environment.
Elon Musk is a bully, and you see it in this interview. As soon as he senses any weakness from James Clayton, even though this guy is super nice, right? I mean, I was led to believe by Beatles documentaries that British interviewers were supposed to be really mean, but James Clayton isn't mean, and I think that's important. Clayton is really nice and tries to be affable, but you see, the problem is that Clayton is trying to report the news and things that are actually happening. And part of the news is that people are criticizing Elon Musk, and that drives him insane. He's also consciously performing for his audience, Twitter Spaces, and you can see he has his phone out there checking how many people are watching, and at one point on Twitter Spaces, at least according to Musk, it's like over 500,000 people.
That's on you, that's on you.
There's 680,000 people listening.
There you go.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
This doesn't really have anything to do with the video, so I might as well just say it now. I can't prove this, but I kind of think that the I think you should leave sketch about the interviewer who goes on his phone when he starts losing is based on this.
I'll size you up and I'll cut you down. But if I feel like you're getting the best of me, I have no problem being on my phone the whole show. It's impossible to keep gas prices
That's exactly the point I made 2 seconds ago.
Fuck!
Hold on a second, I gotta do something for my mom.
I mean, it's maybe this something that people on the Twitter want to say. Ask, you know, we could ask them.
That's on you. That's on you.
There's 680,000 people listening.
There you go.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Let's see. How do we see? Okay.
Compare that to the Sorkin interview where Elon is performing for the ADL and shareholders and a live studio audience.
No, totally. No.
These guys are really only good at taking over and destroying things, and they can be exposed for who they really are by more and more people if more and more people care enough to do that. And I think more and more people are caring every day. I am going to be a little well, copium heavy. And that's not a lame, outdated term. The problem we have is getting people to care, to make them feel like this shit matters, that it's not all just memes, that these people want us to be mindless slaves, or if we get in the way, dead. But their curse is, and they know it's a curse, they're just as human as the rest of us. They'd kidnap 1,000 children before they let their companies die. But it's not us who needs them. It's them who needs us. And they know it. Don't they?
You?
I don't know why. Why did I turn this into like a Pixar thing at the end? I didn't even like foreshadow that in any way.
Starting with our stockholders, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
A very special thank you to Ryan Mack, who was so wonderful with his time. Wonderful with his time. He lent his time, that's what I'm trying to say. And to Kate Conger, Character Limit really is worth reading, it's great. I'm not sponsored by it or Audible, but I tell you what I am sponsored by. This month's brand ambassador, Mouse Pants, one of my paid supporters on patreon.com and or YouTube Premium. If you want to be a part of YouTube history, because of course that, as established, is exactly what this channel is, consider being a Mouse Pants. Or not, I'm not your dad. I guess it was to show off that I can quote Pixar. I'm like the most. I unfortunately am a normie. I wish I was cooler than I am. I'll just be totally real with you. Halfway through editing this thing, I remembered, oh right, no question, Andrew Ross Sorkin was way better. And I'll just be real with you. I'm pretty sure I only picked this to be the second one because I wanted to have a really fun onboard to the series. But I still think it's important because James Clayton is underprepared. You can just see these moments where Elon Musk gets excited and wants to pounce. Or maybe it was his son at the time. Let's fact check that. Okay, before I fact check this, let's just think, is it more disrespectful for Elon to name his son after a social media platform, or to name a social media platform after his son? And the answer is... Okay, so X, the child, was born in 2020, and the name change to Twitter came after that. So what a wonderful legacy to leave your son, is what we've learned.
Literally dead. Like dead. Like dead. Literally dead. Like dead.
Elon's a bad businessman.